representing Mr. Zimmerman. I probably should know this by now. And I have no idea what we're going to be doing next, except tomorrow we're going to have a bond motion hearing, hopefully before a circuit judge in Seminole County. I'll be certainly seeking his release. Quite honestly, I've not been involved in the case that long, so I know nothing more than the media, probably a lot less.
Mark, will he stay in Seminole County Jail tonight?
He's not in Seminole County presently, so I'm not sure when that transportation is going to be completed.
You talked to him on the phone. What is George saying? You have talked to him on the phone today.
I think he's troubled by the fact that the state decided to charge him, but I've talked to him about the process. The prosecutor knows the evidence much better than I do right now. She's professional. She's doing a job as a prosecutor. She's made a decision, and now we'll see what the next step brings. I think anyone who would be charged with second-degree murder would be scared. So, yes, I'm certain he's frightened. He's in police custody, and they are doing what they can to get him to Seminole County.
Where was he? Call you?
We voluntarily surrendered him to law enforcement with the realization that the charges were going to come, and he did that again voluntarily. And we're trying to work out the best way to keep this as calm as we can.
Was he out of state?
How did you become his attorney?
The family contacted me. I think there were referrals from other lawyers, and I talked to Mr. Zimmerman.
FDLE or Jacksonville? Which law enforcement?
I believe it was FDLE, yes.
Have you ever had a stand your ground case before?
30 years of practice. The stand your ground statutes, I think, was 2005. The idea of having self-defense cases, yes, I've done several death penalty cases, a bunch of murder cases, and self-defense is, in many of them, a part of the defense, possibly, so yes.
Mark, based on what you know about the facts, how are you going to make the case that this was a justified homicide?
I don't know yet. I have no idea. Commenting on the evidence is not really appropriate anyway, but it's easier for me to say I'm not going to comment on it because I know nothing more than you.
What did Zimmerman say to you, Mark? What did Zimmerman say to you?
Well, he's concerned about getting a fair trial and a fair presentation. There's obviously been a lot of information flowing. I think a lot of it's been both premature and maybe inappropriate. I don't think a case like this should be tried here, and it's not going to be. I don't think the prosecutor is going to try it before cameras, and I'm very glad to hear that. But there's a lot of information, and of course there's a lot of groundswell of emotions on all sides of the issue. The statute and whether or not it's appropriate, Trayvon Martin's untimely death, Mr. Zimmerman. So there's a lot of issues and there's a lot of emotions, and we need to calm this down. It needs to be tried in a courtroom, which is the only place it's supposed to be tried, and that's what I'm going to help try to get done.
Mark, what happened with the last attorneys? What made you want to take this case?
It's what I do. I mean, I've done it for a long, long time. I think I'm pretty good at it. I hope to be good at it. And Mr. Zimmerman needs a very good and focused defense, so we're going to build him one.
Is that why he stopped calling his former attorneys?
I'm sorry?
Is that why he stopped calling his former attorneys?
I didn't talk to him about how that occurred or what happened with that.
Were you on before or after that news conference yesterday where his legal advisors
It
bailed
would definitely
out?
have been after.
After that news
Absolutely.
conference? Did he mention that to you, that he needed new counsel after that?
We didn't talk about that.
Mark, can you tell us what city he's in?
This case has so much attention. How can you keep him safe?
I'm hoping that law enforcement is going to do what they can to assist me in keeping him safe. I'm hoping that the community will calm down. We now have a process in place. It's a very good process, best in the world, and it works pretty well. We have to let it work. We have to understand and have faith in the justice system. Nobody, after all, wanted Trayvon Martin to be prejudged as he was walking down that street. I asked not to prejudge George Zimmerman, and please do not prejudge the criminal justice system. It's going to work. We just need to let it work.
Are you aware of how much your life's going to change? How much is your life going to change?
I understand the undertaking. It's going to be challenging, and I've handled other high-profile cases of sorts. I'll deal with it. I hope to have a good support team with me, and I hope that I'll be given the time to do it, and we won't have to have many of these.
Did you contact him through his website?
I'm sorry?
Did you contact him through his website?
Absolutely not. I did not contact him at all, which would be unethical to contact a lawyer, a client for representation. And no, I haven't even seen the website, to be honest with you.
What city did he turn himself in?
I really don't want to disclose
Was it in
that.
Central Florida?
And where was he before today? Everyone's been wondering where he was.
I don't know.
Mark, what are the conditions of bond you're hoping the judge grants? Are you going to,
Well-
hopefully, given the sensitivity in the community, are you going to see if he can be let out of Seminole County or let out of
Yes.
Florida?
My hope is that the judge will grant a bond, and that'll be a bond that the family can make. They are not a family of means, so that's going to be difficult to begin with. And that normally the conditions are that you stay local. I think that may be difficult. I think that nobody would deny the fact that if George Zimmerman was walking down the street today, he would be at risk. And that's just a reality. That's just the way things are right now. So we need to protect him. And I'm hoping that the judge will understand that. I'm certain the prosecutor understands that. I'm hoping law enforcement will give us the assistance that we're going to need in this case. But I'm hoping that we're going to keep him safe. I want him to get to his trial so that a judge or jury or the prosecutor can figure out a way to resolve this.
Mark, will he have to appear tomorrow?
Do you think you can get a fair trial here?
We wouldn't today, I don't think. The emotions are just running high in all of Central Florida. But we'll see as we get closer to the point where we're resolving it. We don't even know if we're going to have a trial.
What's going to happen tomorrow in the Seminole County courtroom?
My hope, if I can get back in my office and finish the work, that we're going to have a bond motion hearing set by a judge. An initial appearance will be held, and at that point the judge can consider what to do with the then existing bond schedule of no bond, which is what Seminole County has as a bond schedule for a second-degree murder, and that we can convince him or her that a bond is appropriate.
What time is the hearing? You know when
It's not set yet. I think that
normal time, at 1:30 when they normally
it may be at 9 o'clock, maybe at 1:30. I do not know that yet. We'll know that in the morning.
Mark, his former attorneys made him sound a little frantic.
Mm-hmm.
How did he sound to you? How was his voice?
He is troubled by everything that has happened. And I could not imagine living in George Zimmerman's shoes for the past number of weeks. Only because he has sort of been at the focus of a lot of anger and maybe confusion and maybe some hatred. And that's got to be difficult. I mean, truly, it must be frightening to not be able to go into a 7-Eleven or into a store and literally to be, in effect, a prisoner in wherever he was. So that would trouble all of us, and I'm sure that he's wearing some of the fallout from that.
Did he sound okay, though? Did he sound like he's lost it?
He was rational to me. He understood what I was saying, understood what he was saying. We're communicating well. We'll see. I have no idea other than that.
His other attorney said he was, some people described it as going rogue, and it wasn't returning calls and was putting up a website. Did you have that conversation like you have to? If I'm going to represent you, we got to do this my way.
I think Mr. Zimmerman and I have a good understanding of what I can offer to him and how he can best allow me to be a good lawyer for him. And I think that there may have been some misunderstandings or confusions or maybe even some inaccuracies with the way the last couple of days went from Sunday to Tuesday. That doesn't sit well with me.
What advice did you give him today?
Stay calm, listen to my advice.
Which was what?
Which was to stay calm, and as I give you advice in the future, I sort of am the professional in doing this, and I'm only going to give him good advice after I think it through, and we'll be working together. He's obviously a significant part of the defense team, and there's a lot that he can do to keep things on track as well, and he seems very willing to listen and to do what we have to do to move forward.
Are you going to meet him in person tonight, or are you going to wait until tomorrow?
Again, he's in law enforcement custody right now, so I don't have as much free access to him. They are going to grant me access as soon as we are within the same geographical area, and I'm presuming that's going to happen hopefully tonight, but I don't know that.
Mark, as this moves forward, what do you do to make sure he stays safe?
I don't know. First thing is I reach out to the community and say, he's been charged, he's been arrested, he's a criminal defendant now, let the process work. Let's not prejudge anyone any longer. Let's just let the process work. There's a lot of high emotions. Maybe some of them have been salved by the fact that there has been an arrest. Well, let's just let the process work. The worst thing that can happen in this case is that it doesn't get tried properly where it's supposed to. because then no matter what the result where it does end up getting tried, the media, the public, or whatever, it's not going to be a proper result. Give us our chance to do it the way it's supposed to be done.
Have they said whether or not he'll be in confinement when he gets to Seminole County?
I would presume, because again of some of the high emotions of the case, that they are going to have him in what they call protective custody, that they will keep him safe and separate until we get a better chance to figure it all out.
Are you worried about your safety now?
No, I don't believe so. I'm a criminal defense attorney. I've done it a long time. I'm doing a job. He is a client who has a lot of hatred focused on him right now. I'm hoping that the hatred settles down now that we're sort of moving forward. I truly hope none of it's focused on me. It's just, quite honestly, without getting on a soapbox, this is what I'm supposed to do. He's been charged with a crime. We have rules, we have laws, we have constitutions. The victim's family has absolute rights to be involved in the process. He has rights to his own safety and to the case being tried properly in front of a judge, jury, prosecutor, negotiations, whatever. Just it doesn't need to be tried with somebody hating him or throwing something somewhere. Let's just try it where it's supposed to be tried.
I feel like in some ways,
Typically with someone with those charges, would you expect a bond would be set and a reasonable bond that they could afford? Would that be normal in these circumstances?
I would say if you looked at a percentage that bonds are normally granted in second-degree murder cases. And we do know that there are questions about, just from what the media has stated, that there are questions about how it happened. So I think that also lends to the suggestion that maybe he should be out. I want him out because I need him out to help me in my defense. So very selfishly, I want him around so I can have free access to him because he's, again, an integral part. I hope he'll get a bond. That's out of my hands. It's up to a judge.
But you'll ask for
Absolutely.
Mark, do you feel like in some ways Zimmerman is better off being charged? Or if the system worked, this is what people were screaming about?
Well, I think he would be better off if they decided not to charge him. But understandably, again, she had all of the evidence, and I trust her to have been a good prosecutor. I'm not going to second-guess her decision when I don't even have any of the evidence. I'm not going to be presumptuous, and I'm not going to jump up and say she's wrong. She's a good prosecutor. We'll see what happens.
when will you start getting?
Basically, within 15 days of the date that this has happened, we'll start having an information flow. I'm presuming in my conversation I hope to have with the prosecutor tomorrow that we'll work out something to get discovery, started right away. No sense delaying anything. We need to know what's going on. No, I have a call into her. She's been very busy making these last-minute decisions and the conference tonight, so I imagine I'm on her list.
I'm sorry if I missed this. Did he turn himself in or
He turned himself in. That was part of the process that was put in place earlier on, before I was involved, in dealing with FDLE. And I think they did a great job to make sure that it was done in a very professional way. I want to congratulate FDLE for the way they handled it. And they are concerned about his safety, which is an element that they should be concerned about. And, we'll deal with it the way we need to.
So you just got involved in this story after that?
Yes, this is first few hours of it. No, before that.
Was there any hesitation? Did you think about it for a little while?
Oh, yes. I thought about it for quite a while, actually, and made a few phone calls that you have to make those calls when you're going to do something like this. And we talked about it, and I think it's something that I can help out in. It's going to take a lot of time, a lot of focus, but, again, in my gut, in my heart, it's what I do. So when a case like this comes up that I think I can do good within, then that's what I'm supposed to do.
Mark, before your news conference, we saw you watching TV. You were watching the coverage. You watched what everyone had to say. Your thoughts?
I appreciate the way the prosecutor handled her press conference. She said what was appropriate. She didn't talk about the evidence because we're not supposed to. She's a prosecutor. She believes that she has enough evidence to charge a crime, so she did. That's what she's supposed to do. I appreciate the way she handled it. It was businesslike. There was no, fisting, or angry or anger. She did what she does as a prosecutor, and I look forward to working with her on the case. I don't know her yet, but I look forward to working with her.
Mark, can you talk about the process after the bond hearing? Like, there might be an arraignment hearing, and what happens?
Right now, he'll be seen tomorrow at first appearance. If we get a bond then, great. If not, we'll set another bond hearing. He will be arraigned at some point, which will happen over the next couple of 3 weeks probably. Generally speaking, we waive formal arraignment. It's a very formalistic process, so we don't need to deal with that. And then we get set for some court hearings, and the discovery process, which is going to be very intense in a case like this, is going to start hopefully very soon.
I don't know if anybody asked you, is he going to plead not guilty?
Yes, as 99.9% of criminal defendants charged with a crime, you plead not guilty presently. That keeps the process moving forward until you figure out what's going on.
Is this your most high-profile case?
I think it's going to turn out to be. Yeah. I've had a couple that have had publicity, but this has certainly started out with an enormous amount.
Did he ever tell you what happened? Did he ever say he was innocent, or did he just ask you to represent him?
One, we haven't had conversations like that. Two, if he did, I wouldn't be able to comment on it. And three, to the extent that he told me anything, it would be a comment on the evidence. And I'm going to follow the prosecutor's rule that we really shouldn't be talking about the evidence. And it's a good rule.
What do you think about the stand your ground law?
It's going to be a part or a facet of this defense, I'm sure. That statute has some troublesome portions to it, and we are now, I think, going to have discussions and conversations about that as a state. But right now, it's the law of Florida, and it's the law that's going to have impact on this case.
Are you going to stick to self-defense?
I have no idea what the facts are going to support right now. As a defense attorney, we have the luxury of not saying anything about the facts of the case until we know everything. That's really the way it's supposed to work, and then we can decide to say something. We're at the stage where I know I should say nothing about the facts of the case, because I'm not going to speculate. I'm not going to look at one piece of evidence and say, well, look at the videotape, or look at this statement, or look what she said. That's one piece of a puzzle that's unfair to tell anyone. We're going to wait until we get the whole picture together.
Do you know how he ended up selecting you as an attorney? Was it a reference? Was one of your people who tried contacting him?
No, again, any contact from a lawyer to a client, to a prospective client, is unethical. So if I was to say, oh, I want your case, I should be disciplined. So none of that happened. And my understanding was that several lawyers who he was in communication with, or his people were in communication with, my name had came on that list from a couple of different sources. And I think, and from what he said, he looked me up, and we talked about it.
Do you see any problems with being the third attorney on this case?
Well, I'm the first attorney on the case since he's been charged with a crime. But seriously, I didn't watch it at anything else but a media looking at it. So I'm not sure what Mr. Sunner or Mr. Urig's involvement and how they handled it. But no, I don't think the fact that he's changed counsel at this point is problematic at all.
Are you concerned that he might treat you the way he treated his previous attorney?
That's sort of presuming that he treated them in a way that is not appropriate, and I don't think that was true. So I have no concerns with the way Mr. Zimmerman is going to interact with me, at least in the few short hours I've interacted with him today. It's been very cordial, very understanding, respectful both ways, so I don't see any concerns.
It was just over the phone, though, not in person.
Yes.
I made just a couple of things. You just said what time and where you turned it.
It was several hours ago, and I'm not sure the exact location. And I think in deference to FDLE, they are handling this in a very proper way to keep him safe, and I'm going to give them the opportunity to continue to do that.
Were you surprised at all at the charges?
I don't know, because I don't know the facts that the prosecutor had available to her to make that decision. I was a prosecutor for a couple of years. I would look at evidence. I would decide to charge what I thought was appropriate. I'm going to wait till I see the evidence. Mr. Zimmerman was troubled by it. I just don't want to say more than I know about the case.
So you don't think it was necessary for him to be charged?
I would be commenting on the evidence to give that opinion, and I don't even know the evidence yet. So I could say it, defending him, that he should have been charged, but it really has no basis in fact. Let's wait until we find out what was really happening. All right. I appreciate you guys coming out. Sorry to make you wait a little bit of extra time, but someone said it was going to be 7, so there it was.